Hey, it's Sandra Pike from Roll Page Atlantic and the Pike Group. So we have a pretty hot topic today, and we're going to discuss conditions when you're in multiple offer. And so often I see many people, especially on, there's one particular face group, it's Ontario to Nova Scotia. And a lot of people are going on about, they're showing up and they didn't get a home inspection and they're so disappointed once they get to the house and they find out, the issues that are there. So today is going to be just all about conditions and waiving them and what your risks are and if there aren't any risks. But first, we have to introduce our panel. And Sam, I'll let you go right ahead.
Hey, Sam Bianchini here. Born and raised in Cape Breton. I've been here 10 years now, and my brokerage is Keller Williams.
And you're in your car because you have no power.
No power in the car. You might hear some rain. This is also month 10, so I'm quite new to the industry. Yeah.
Good stuff. And Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, Jason Breen with Sutton Professional Realty and also from Cape Breton. That's why you and I get along so well, Sam.
We do.
Yeah, we knew that. Yeah, so thanks for having me on, Sandra. Appreciate it.
And Mr. Thomas.
I'm Roy Thomas. I'm not from Cape Breton, from Halifax, and I'm with Sutton Group Professional Realty.
Awesome.
Hold that against you, Roy. It's okay.
Hey, look, I'm the token Newfie girl. So Roy, I'm going to start with you. I mean, you've been around the block, not much longer than I've been, but I'm pretty sure, you've been in, let's say, go from mid 2020 to now, you've been in competing offers with your buyer. When you are going into competing offer and there are, let's say, remember that one in Fairview we talked about, there was like 60 deals on the table. What are you telling your client at that point in time when it comes to, when you're doing your conditions, especially for a home inspection?
Obviously, you want to talk to them about the home inspection. It does give them an advantage if they're willing to waive the home inspection, but it also means they could be buying something and find out after the fact that there's a major problem with it. Some buyers are comfortable doing it. Some buyers aren't. I've had buyers write an offer with no conditions whatsoever. It's firm on signing, cash deal, and have buyers put them in. So it really comes down to having a conversation with them and saying, look, how comfortable are you? Is this something you consider? The other thing to consider is if the seller has had a pre-list inspection done and you've got access to that and you reviewed it, then I have seen buyers, both ones that I'm working with and buyers that are writing on my listings, that are comfortable taking the pre-list and saying, I'm good with what's in here. But you definitely want to talk to the buyer. You want to make your conditions as strong as possible, make your dates as short as possible. Bump the deposit, put the deposit up fast within a day or two, and then have the conversation about the risk versus benefit if they're willing to waive the inspection. And it depends. First-time buyers typically won't, but if you've got a multi-time buyer who's experienced and is familiar with housing, they might be comfortable doing it. So have the conversation with them, and if they're going to waive it, I'd get them to sign a waiver.
Mm-hmm.
Basically protecting you because you're advising them that while they gives them a negotiating advantage to do it, they could be buying a major problem that will be their responsibility to fix, and they may not have much recourse against the seller.
So Jason, have you run into that? Like, have you had a buyer who waived conditions and maybe would have regretted it, or what have you seen?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I'm still have a current listing that's just under condition, supposed to be firming up today. Got 408. Got to make sure that goes through. But we had 65 showings, 28 offers. We're almost at 50% of people wrote on that, and some of them were. I can't give you the details, but some of them were either didn't give a well and septic schedule. And when I asked about it, it was, they're waiving well and septic, but they're going to do a home inspection. It's risky. Some of them had no conditions at all. And, ultimately we picked the one that was best going to suit the seller. But some things popped up. And if it depends though, if somebody's going to be writing these checks and the money that they're going to be spending, do they care if they have a $25,000 septic issue? it's not up to say, right? But you're taking on those risks, and it's something that I don't recommend my clients do unless they are willing to fork out 25,000 for a septic and 18,000 for a well. You never know.
Yeah. And how about you, Sam? I mean, I know you're new, but I'm sure you've run into these conditions, and how are you talking with your client?
Yeah, I've run into it actually quite a bit early on. And I think my rule out of the gate was just, if you're going to waive anything, I'm not doing it unless you're signing a waiver, because I just want to make my butt, not in trouble, and kind of like, yeah, just make sure that my area is covered, and as Keller Williams is too. But a good little quick example would be, I sold a new build, not a new build, but a 2-year-old home, pretty much a new build. They waived everything: septic, well, home inspection. I got them to sign the waiver. The deal was accepted. Then a day later, they said, no, we actually want a home inspection. So talked to the agent, it all worked out. We were able to get a home inspection. But these were first-time home buyers, and they learned so much from that. And it was all minor things, like there was no salt in the well. The HRV was really, really bad. It needed to be professionally cleaned and serviced. A few other little things. So while there was no big issue, they are really educational for first-time home buyers, in my opinion. And there was a few things that it benefited them to change their minds. I know it was luck that they actually said yes to us getting a home inspection, but it worked in their favor. But that was my first example.
That's good. So Roy, you're saying that you're waiving all conditions. Would that include a lawyer review as well?
You can only waive the buyer's side of the lawyer review because the seller has a right to have a lawyer review. So in that case, we actually did cross that clause out, but I talked to the buyers and said, you may get a counter on this where the seller may want a lawyer review of the documents. So we did cross it out, and they didn't. They had an experienced agent. They were experienced sellers. So basically our deal was firm on signing.
So my question to you is, what if because when we go on property online as real estate agents, we can't see everything. So what if there was a lien against the property? So then what would happen?
You're not waiving the clear title. That's still a condition of the sale. You can't waive that because it's just something that has to be done. There has to be clear title. That's still in there. We waived inspection. It was also a condo, and we had already read the condo docs.
Okay.
My client was fine with them, so they waived condo docs, they waived inspection, they waived financing because they were paying cash, and all the other conditions. And we waived the lawyer review, knowing the buyer or the seller's agent might want to put that back in. They didn't, so we're fine. So it was a very, very large deposit.
Mm-hmm. So I feel that an agent would have to step very cautiously to waive a water and septic inspection. I would feel comfortable waiving a home inspection. You can see some of the, especially if, if you've been around a lot of houses, or, I mean, not necessarily, it's not about experience being a real estate agent, but you can see things that are, that could be, something wrong with the house. You can see a crack in the foundation. You can look at the windows, you can look at the roof, and usually those things are the big ticket items. I don't know if I would encourage my client to waive a septic. Again, like you said, Jason, it's a $25,000 septic. Then you're looking at a well. However, what if, so we know that there are parts of town where the water volume isn't that great. And I would really want to do a flow test, because for a client to go into a property and find out in the summertime that there was no water, if you're on the listing side, would you accept something that was septic and well, and maybe, if they still wanted to do that inspection and not do the home inspection, what are your thoughts then?
Well, yeah, like I said, sometimes the checks that people are trying to cash on these properties, it's a it's a lot of money. So if they're taking that on, they're also taking on the responsibility too, that maybe that's not a big deal for them, right? Because not a lot of properties are popping up. You don't know the duress that some people are in to either move from another province or get into a home. And, that's really ultimately up to them. That being said, is it a shallow well? Is there enough water there for enough bedrooms in the house? Is a possibility that it could run out? You really should be checking these things out unless you are financially stable enough. There's enough room in your budget. You didn't blow it all on the price of the house, that if something came up, you can go ahead and you're willing to take on that. You sign your waiver and make sure that you're going to make that your problem in the future.
I think the last time I saw a bill for a fracking of a well was around, was it Roy, $12 to $17,000, I think?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It's
I
funny.
remember.
I have 2 well quotes in my inbox today for something that has come up, and just to re-drill, 6 to 10 more feet, almost 10,000, and to actually just do a whole new well, $18,000. And fracking wasn't an issue, a solution, because it's a shallow well. It's 200 feet. You got to be at least over 300 feet deep for you to be able to frack a well, or you're going to blow the well apart. So so you're getting educated on a few things that pop up, right? So
so let's say, Sam, you are working with a buyer, who's out of the province and they're doing something virtual. And again, and these cases happen all the time. And now the person is here in town, and they on closing day, and they walk in and they're so disappointed. So we just sold a property, I think it was last year, and the lady would have purchased it with the listing agent and didn't do a home inspection, didn't do a well and water inspection. And it's a money pit. So how are you guiding your clients that you're working with virtually? And, what are you telling them to watch out for?
Ooh, that's tough. One, definitely the waiver. Definitely. If, like I said, that one is non-negotiable for me. Virtual, I do a lot of virtual, and these are going to sound really basic, but they've helped my clients a lot, where Google Maps, take a look at the neighborhood, take a look at the area, take a look at what's going on. I know Google Maps doesn't update super frequently, but at least they give a sense of what's around the home, not just the home. Green belts, land that's around, because I know I've seen the Facebook things you were talking about earlier, Sandra, where it's, they thought they had so much land or trees or privacy, but it actually in turn isn't the case. And then the other little tip that I've learned is show the home. I can ramble, but then show it again and say nothing, because sounds, right? If you're back onto a highway, things like that. All these things that I'm learning from other people's mistakes, essentially, is what I'm saying. But that would be how I've been navigating it so far. It does make me wary, though. I've sold a couple of homes now where it's nobody's actually seen it in person, and they're taking my word. Now, knock on wood, it's all worked out pretty well, but I go over with a fine-tooth comb, I guess, because there's nobody else there to go over it with me.
So, Rory, you get your client, and I'm just making up a scenario. You get your client, they're coming from Ontario, and they get to the house, and it's a huge disappointment. So who would you say that responsibility falls on? Was it you, the agent, who didn't give enough information? Who didn't talk about, hey, you know what, to the right of the house, there's a power station, or you have this drop off in the back. So who is the onus on that, would you feel? Just an opinion.
I think that's a very hard question to answer, because it depends on a lot of specifics to a certain situation. I mean, if there's something, power station or whatever nearby, A, they can see it in Google Maps, and B, you should be telling them.
Yeah.
They understand that. Strangely enough, the very first virtual deal I did was when I sold one of your listings out in Sackville about 2 years ago. And those particular clients were repeat clients. Another thing that's worthwhile noting is I would ask the client, if they're buying virtually, are you familiar with Halifax? Have you lived here before? In this case, these clients had, I'd sold them out when they were posted out and they were being posted back. So they were familiar with the Halifax, Dartmouth area. If they're not familiar with Halifax, Dartmouth area, then you have a little bit higher level of due diligence to make sure that you know that they're comfortable with what they're going to be buying. If they get the house on day of closing and they're not satisfied with it, that's a real hard question to answer because it just depends on a lot of factors. Again, on that one I did with you, I also had a family member go through with me and look at the property. She FaceTimed the client. I walked through and shot a video, uploaded the video to them, and then they had the video to look at after the fact that night. So they got a real look at it, and they were fine when they moved in. Property was in great shape. They were real happy with it. But you want to make sure if you're doing a video or a virtual showing, you want to make sure that the client is well aware of everything.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, especially for Sam and Jason, every time I am helping a buyer purchase a home, you want to make sure that whatever someone is purchasing, like you just don't want to be a one-hit realtor, and you want to make sure that the house that they're going to buy, ask yourself, can you sell this home? Is this home a marketable home? Because life changes. Like death, divorce, jobs, life changes in an instant. And could you honestly sell that home? So if you are thinking that way when you're showing a home, right? And because you don't want to wear a bad sale, right? When you go to sell it. So when I'm, if I had to do something virtually or even, locally, if I'm with someone, I don't want to. And Roy, you're probably like my personality. If I don't think it's a good investment, I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to agree with you because you're the client. It's because I have no emotional commitment. So it's good, I think, for agents just to always think about down the road. Can you sell that home? And that way, if you don't think it's a good thing, you'll let your client know, because it's not about the sale. It's about your reputation, and it's about, again, what happens down the road when life changes, right?
I agree. I've told clients on multiple occasions not to buy a property.
Yep.
Because it's in a lot of times you're figuring there's going to be a problem that they're going to have to deal with down the road, or you're not going to be able to resell it for what they need or based on their situation. But I've said to clients, I really don't think you should buy this house.
Yep.
And one started to argue with me actually on it.
but you know what? It's I just think it's really a good practice to do. And Sam, have you come across Kitech in your travels yet?
Not in my travels yet. No. I have
Oh,
not.
good stuff.
I do know about it. I do know how to look for.
And I will tell you, Kitech, that's been around for I think it was between 1997 and 2006. There was probably up to 3,000 homes here in Metro that would have had the Kitech. And when I read stats on it, you probably have more of a chance than your house being hit with lightning than with pipes leaking with Kitech. So, but it is to be aware and educate your clients. And could it leak? Yep. Would it leak? Maybe not, but there is that potential that it could. Jason, have you run into any radon issues yet?
Oh yeah, so I live up in White Hills right now, right down the road from Roy's listing, and I came from Timberley. So when I'm Timberley is high radon, all Hammond's Plains, all this side has really high radon. So when we sold, we had Kitech, and we had radon, a little bit of a radon issue, right? But it was a different market, 9 months to sell a semi, and this house that we're in was on for, Peter Brower was selling it maybe 11, 12 months. I'm not sure. But we had to put a radon system in. The sellers here put a radon system in for us. And then also we had Kitech, and we knew that was going to be an issue. So we waited to see if the potential buyers were going to would want to talk about that. And back then it was talked about. It was, a $7,000-8,000 issue. So we had somebody go ahead and rip out all the Kitech for it. Wasn't Kitech, it was Kitec's second cousin, Pexel Pex. Yeah, and so we ripped all that out and put in the piping that was supposed to be there.
Yeah, and again, those are things that you can see, like Kitec. And when it comes to radon, you can go on to the the radon map within Nova Scotia, and you can see where the levels are higher. But we know that the BLT area is would have a lot of radon. Not a lot of places over in Dartmouth because it's clay. And again, and I do advise, I'm sure like you do, Roy, as well, the test that you do during a home inspection may not necessarily be the exact radon measurement. So, I just tell the client, be aware. And if you buy the house, I would do the longer term testing, and then it's a, $1,500 fix if you're so inclined to fix it.
That's one nice thing about radon. It's a very definite fix. It's unlike some other things. You're not sure what it's going to fix, or they can be disputed how much it's going to cost. Radon's pretty cut and dry.
Yep. So Sam, you're at a house. What are some things that you're going to be in competing offers? What are some things that you are telling your client to look for when they're walking through a home?
I always look at windows. I'm a big window person. Big window person. Roof structure. Is it poured concrete? Is it block? Year, age of the house. Obviously well and septic, and to go off of what I think you or Jason said, I think it was you actually, Sandra, I would totally get a well and septic before home inspection. Like if you were to take one out, personally, my opinion, I would totally waive the home inspection before well and septic. Just side note, but yeah, those would be like the big ones. I guess those are quite obvious. But again, and I've had a lot of people out of province be big on noise. So I've had issues with that so much that I really try to be quiet during it as well, even if it's noise from hot water baseboard or the plumbing, something like that. You'd be surprised, at least for me, how many times people have been a little weird about sounds the homes inks.
Yep. And Jason, what are you telling your buyers to look for when you're walking through?
Not to answer a question with a question, but have you guys ever had anybody just want to offer, they have the ability to see it, but then they just don't even bother, just want to throw an offer in?
Yes.
Not very often. However, if there's good pictures and walkthrough, especially the virtual walkthrough, I find though, I know when I was looking for a home, I was doing those walkthrough first, and I could zoom in and I could look at the state of the cupboards, and yeah, I would have made a decision then. But no, I don't have very many of those now.
No, it was just funny, just because I said I've seen a lot of offers there just last week, and the very first one I got was a very big number, and they had the ability to see it lots of time. But again, they didn't go in to see the property. I didn't put a lot of faith in that offer when, somebody doesn't want to go see a property. I'm like, what if it smells like cats? I was like, you got to get in the house, especially when you have the ability to do so. It's not like it was holding offers to a certain point and then we don't have the ability to go do it, but we want to have a chance at it, right? But no, that's for me, that's, you got to get into the house, you got to see it, you got to walk it, if you have the ability to do so. And what I like to offer is obviously doing pre-inspections. I've had people take our pre-inspection because the window for conditions is so short. We don't want them to hold up our house for 2 weeks and then maybe give it back to us. And I've had the buyers, they don't have to, but ask for the pre-inspection, and they took it as that this is good for us. We don't see any issues in this that we want to address. And the whole 50-page report was there. So if the house is 15 to 20 years old, I'd like to throw that in there, just usually pain points for a seller to know that this might come up, this might come up. They might not care, but it is a pain point that you want to know about, to say this could come after these big numbers come in. But I think it's good to shorten up the time frame and kind of be very transparent, right? Because you want to have a good relationship with the buyer's agent and yourself. Like, we're not selling houses, we're closing a deal. We gotta get everybody to the end, the buyers and the sellers, so that everybody's happy.
Roy, I got a question for you, and I've seen it before. So let's say, you know, we write the offer but we still want to do a home inspection, but the home inspection isn't, whatever we find, we're still going to move ahead with the offer. You as a listing agent, this is just something popped in my head. Would you allow that home inspection to happen during condition period or after condition period?
Well, was it written in the offer as a condition?
Yes, but next to the offer, or next to the home inspection, it said, just for information purposes only.
The condition says they got a right to do it within the condition dates. You can't stop them from doing it within the condition dates. So you have no choice. They have to go ahead and do it within the condition dates. They put it for information purposes only, but technically under the new system, if they don't give you a 408, they're out.
Yeah.
So them writing information purposes in there doesn't carry a lot of weight.
Okay, good stuff. So just, you know, things to know, and great conversation today, guys. Again, because I know there's a lot of people who are struggling with inspections, not getting them done, not getting enough information from the agent, or and again, it's always think about that you're going to sell that home again, and you know, and how are you going to be there for your client at that point in time? Because you know what, like, you guys never really worked in the markets. This is back in our day, Roy. You know, it's there wasn't a sense of urgency for buyers. We would have anywhere between 10 to 18 months of inventory. And, you know, sales were very difficult. Like, we were taking listings for 6 to 8 months, and, you know, and here you are, like, we're selling houses now, what, within, you know, a few days. So it's certainly different times for sure, eh, Roy? It
is. I mean, back in the day, we used to get excited when a buyer's agent said, "I've got a full price offer for you."
After you looked at 20 homes, the one day.
Yeah, now you don't get a whole lot of full price offers.
No.
Usually it's way above it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, anyway, guys, that is it for today. And thank you for joining us. And we'll probably have you guys on again. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Have a good day.
Thanks.